Okay, so on today's podcast, we have Martin Obetko. Hi, Martin.
Hello, Thomas.
So you're working for Adasta Slovakia, mainly as account manager, and you're governing business development within the company. So what are your main accounts?
Hello, Thomas. First of all, I'm very glad that I'm here meeting you. We know each other for quite some time, and we haven't seen each other for quite some time.
That's right.
So coming back to your question, my main accounts are currently around KBC. So KBC Group, but not only. We've been having large projects and programs in all of the entities. Spanning from Bulgaria to Ireland, also in Slovakia, Hungary, Belgium, etc. So this is one of the biggest accounts. However, this is not the only one. I'm responsible also for public development. For instance, we have National Bank of Slovakia as our customer. I'm working in healthcare, for instance, Dvovera or Penta Hospitals. So there is kind of a flexibility in my work.
So basically, our tentacles are spreading from banking towards public domain and also healthcare, which is for sure challenging. So how are you balancing the work-life balance? What are you doing in your free time just to ease up the conversation at the beginning?
Well, regarding my free time, you're right. It's quite a lot on the table, and sometimes. To be able to cope with all of this, you have to be a bit more on high level. Yeah, so not deeply involved in all the projects and all the nitty-gritty details. However, anyway, you need a work-life balance. What I like to do is traveling. We are going with my wife to Canary Island with caravan.
Oh, sounds cool.
Yeah. Usually the people are shocked, like, okay, with the car, with caravan to Canary Island. So traveling is something that really I have passion for. Also sports and like all sort of things that everybody likes.
So today's main topic is customer experience and lead management, which for sure you are taking care of in these accounts. So what is the customer experience and why is it so important?
Customer experience. Well, if to say it in simple English, I would say that it is about making the life of the customer easy. Yeah. So when we talk about customer experience, it's a very important topic, and I will explain why. Usually, my accounts, or like the place where I started my career, these are banks, and banks usually, at least some time ago, were not like the pioneers of the customer experience and user experience. However, today we have companies like Facebook, like Google, Spotify, etc., and people are not comparing banks with banks, but banks with Spotify or Google. And the customer experience is very important because you, as a customer, expect the same service, the same principles everywhere. So that is why I would say that like customer experience is really on top, and also what has happened in past years. Is the customer-centric approach. Yeah? About customer-centric, the companies were talking for quite some time. However, right now I see really that the customer is at the center of the focus. Yeah? And with this, of course, the customer experience come across.
Usually, back in the days, the banks never had the necessity to call the customers. The customers always came along to them, right? But since the times are changing, now they are feeling the pressure from the customer that he's basically on the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like if you look at like banks didn't have the competence, not competence. It didn't have the competition. But now with all the fintech companies and all these Google Pay, Apple Pay, and stuff, like they feel the pressure. Like the digital transformation is here. It's not coming in a few years. It's like really right now happening, and they have to adapt. Yeah. And however, we are talking about banks, but it's not only about banks. Yeah, it's also about grocery stores. It's about I don't know, healthcare. It's about going to a vacation. It's about grocery store everywhere. Yeah, user
It's
experiences. Yeah.
fascinating how the data are basically spreading through all the industries, and all the industries are basically becoming interdisciplinary fields, which are connecting the specific industry like healthcare, and it's connected with also with the IT part. So, what is the what would you how would you explain what is the customer experience? It's a very broad topic, and what should the companies focus on if they want to be if they want to increase their customer experience and attract their customers with it?
As I said, like in simple English, simple words, customer experience is basically making the life of the customer easier. Yeah? You can distinguish it in, let's say, two main categories: distribution channels and communication channels, and of course, all the marketing around, etc. However, these two categories are very important, and this is, like the field that we help our customers become more customer centric at the end for their clients. When you talk about distribution channels, for instance, there is a lot of turbulences, for instance, in a comparison of in the approach to the brick and mortar traditional offline world and the digital. Like, where is the focus for? Where should be the focus? Like some banks say digital first. Yeah.
By brick and mortar, you mean traditional shops on the
Exactly.
streets?
Yes, exactly. So you walk in to your favorite grocery shop and you shop there. Yeah. Digital, on the other hand, is ordering the food online, for instance. Yeah, just to make the comparison.
Or to visit your bank agent.
Exactly. Yeah. And here, the companies are asking like where to focus on. Is it digital? Is it brick and mortar? Or where to focus on? And we've seen a lot of development in past years, especially driven by the situation, like in the healthcare, driven by the COVID. Apparently, suddenly, everybody had to stay at home. Yeah? And we weren't prepared for that at schools, at most of the works, in the offices, etc. And what I liked a lot was the speed of the adoption. That from one day to another, we just have to adopt. The companies bought new notebooks so the people can work from home. Children, started into these teams, etc. And here, I would stress, like the importance of the customer experience. Especially when you look at schools, the children stayed at home, the teachers stayed at home, and they didn't know what to do, and the customer experience was very poor. Yeah, and also the level of teaching was very poor. At the end, in the period of 1 or 2 years, I mean, you could see tremendous breakthrough. Yeah, like the customer experience increased, and I saw it on my wife. She's studying still medicine, and I saw the switch, yeah, like how also the schools adapt to the situation. So there we can see the customer experience.
We could settle a new terminology like learning experience
Learning
in this
experience.
situation.
Yeah.
I had many colleagues who are parents who had kids in different kind of schools, elementary, etc. And it was interesting to see that. For example, certain children who had younger teachers who were, let's say, I don't want to say educated, but they were swimming better in the IT world. They were willing and able to adopt, as you said, faster. And those who had, let's say, teachers from older generations, it was a bit troublesome. So maybe this was also the accelerator that, for example, the younger teachers also thought the older generations.
And we can learn from this a lot, yeah. Especially when talking about what is the right channel, because for everybody the right channel is different. It's very individual. Someone really likes to go to brick and mortar because they like to discuss, they like to meet the people,
or feel the product in their
or
hands.
feel the product in the hands. Yeah, of course. The others like to shop online because they can save time, etc. And it's not only about the personally, but also about the mood and about the product, the typology of the product, etc. So when you were asking like what to focus on, um, it's not about like focusing on one channel or digital or brick and mortar. You have to uh, be in the omnichannel environment to be where the customer is.
So now we basically grasp the two main concepts, the let's say offline and online channels. And if we switch to a digital world, what kind of channels are there? On which channels should the companies focus on? And for example, is there some kind of best channel based on which you can reach the most customers for your product?
This point of view, I would say. Well, I will. I would say differently. Of course, there is a channel that like might be like the most popular. Some time ago, it was email. Let's say now it's push notification, etc. And also, we have to distinguish between like distribution channels and communication channel. How to communicate with the customer, because there is a huge customer experience as well. And what we help the customers with is combination of the channels in the right way. What does that mean? You don't look at a specific channel, like this I will focus on because this will have the biggest impact. Quite contrary, you focus on individual customer and adapt the channels and communication channels to that individual. If it will be push notification, then fine. Tomorrow it can be like visit to the branch. So there is no one direct channel that you should focus on. It's more about, and we see it in the trends as well. Channelized by design. So design the products, the services, the processes in a way that are not dependent on the channel. So not having the product that is sold only on brick and mortar in the branch or only online, but you as the customer decide where you want to go.
But also to basically use secondary channels. For example, if a customer is not responding, let's say I'm more responsive to messages. And for example, for quite some time, I break my phone, right? And you will realize based on the customer tracking that I didn't responded for quite some time, and you have available other channels, then you can switch, for example, to email. Since, for example, I have broken phone, but of course, maybe I have computer since I'm working in IT or whatever, and this is also part of the advantage.
Exactly, and touch it. I think very rightly right now. Sometimes the customers can say, I like to be contacted by email or push notification or whatsoever. But the beauty about current world and about all the data that are around, is that the companies can understand the client better. So the fact that a phone is broken, it can be identified from many events that are tracked. So of course there can be a counter action. So if I see that push notification is not delivered, I have the alternative channel, let's say SMS, or maybe to call you. Hi Thomas, are you okay? Do you need some help? So being there for the customer, not for the channel. Yeah.
Isn't it a bit scary, that, for example, the companies know so much about the customer. Let's say in banking, you have some pre-approved loans. We know your preferences about the products. They know, of course, that they have various kind of data, and they can profile the customer. But what do you think about this?
I would answer in a way that open Facebook or open Instagram or open whatever. Look at your Garmin watch. Yeah, people tend to share the information, all the data, very freely. Yeah, of course there is a question about data privacy and personal data, etc. And these have to be taken care of very seriously. For instance, I personally had some implementations of GDPR solutions. To make sure that like the rights of the customers are ensured, and also that the IT security of the customer data are ensured. Yeah,
And
all the
especially
cybersecurity,
in Europe.
especially in Europe. Yeah. However, this is one side of the story. But the fact that like people would be scared that like the bank knows about me something, or Facebook knows about me about something. I mean, the people are expecting it. What I mean by this is, as a customer of a bank, you expect like, look, I'm your customer for past 10 years. You know all about me, all my transactions, etc. So just give me the pre-approved loan because you know me. Yeah? Why should I bring all the papers? And this is what the customers expect. The customers expect that you are you know them and you pay attention to them, each individual. So I wouldn't call it scared. It's like expectation.
I totally agree with you. You know, like sometimes people, and you mentioned Facebook, etc., and they like to talk that, yesterday I was talking about this product and suddenly I had suggestions. The phone is listening to me, but that's the example how well everything works because they are basically collecting the searches, etc., like clicks on certain products. And this is the example how, let's say, the suggestions work. For example, even as you said, for banking, for example, some times ago, let's say 10 years, how long it took until you got a loan? It took several weeks. And to get a loan for example, for an apartment for a bigger amount, it took a month, maybe two. Now you can get it within weeks. And it's that speed, right, which is also one of the preferences of the customers, and it's part of that experience.
The speed you mentioned, and one way how to track the customer experience is, like the speed, how the customer can get what they desire, yeah, or what they want.
Yeah.
And now we can see like much shortened time. For instance, in Slovak, in Slovenská sporiteľňa, I opened the account. It took me maybe 5 minutes, yeah, and I could do it with my phone, no visit of the branch, etc. This is something that was unbelievable even 10 years ago. Yeah? 10 years ago, when I started working for Zuno, maybe some remember the name. It was small online bank, part of Raiffeisen, and by that time, like online and mobile application, it just started, and there we had the debate. Like somebody was telling me, imagine like who would click on the small device on the phone, who would do the transaction, like put there all the digits, and now all the transactions that I do are through the mobile.
And you can just scan it. You have the technology of QR codes now, which are vastly used.
Yeah.
So yeah, that move. For example, my experience also with this, let's say, quick getting of loan was that I had a pre-approved loan, and there was before the pandemic hit, there was a slight crash on the market, and they were still cheap. Also, the interest rates were low. So I really calculated through everything, and I was like, okay, this is the best time to buy certain stocks. And within 2 days, I had the money on my broker account, and this is amazing. Good. So coming back to the omnichannel, we were talking about. Is there a way how to optimize it? Could you elaborate a bit more to the topic of omnichannel and what does it mean?
Yeah, of course. Omnichannel means that, like as we discussed, there is not one channel that is preferred by the customer or one specific channel that is for the customer. What omnichannel means is that imagine a conversation. Us two, yeah. Now we sit here discussing the omnichannel and customer experience, but later on, like when we go home, we'll continue the discussion, let's say on WhatsApp, yeah. And the next morning we meet again and we continue the discussion. Yeah? So we switch the online with the offline quite frequently, and this is what the customers also this is what happens also in the customer world. Yeah? You start conversation with the call center agents. You go and discuss something on the spot in the branch. You continue with application form online, etc. So you have one customer experience switching the channels, and this is the only channel. Yeah. So the companies have to know what is happening everywhere, and all the communication have to be synchronized, I would say. Yeah. So this is omnichannel, like switching the channels and not prefer one channel, but to be in omnichannel world and in a situation
I
that
will now
customers.
totally diverse from the topic, but the one thing I hate is what you just described. Is, for example, I'm talking with somebody on a messenger from Facebook, then continuing the conversation on WhatsApp, then on Signal, on Instagram, on Teams, etc. And I have to, manage all the messaging applications just to find the right conversation. Maybe in the future, like within the, let's say, B2C world, some kind of aggregator would be a good way to go.
And actually, if I may, this point is great because like you to navigate in all the conversations with one person, it might be a nightmare. Imagine the situation of the company that like sometimes you call to the call center, you go to the branch, you write an email, you send SMS, etc., etc., and the company needs to synchronize all the conversation. So I think here is the beauty of the customer experience. Yeah. So
And if it doesn't, I get
then
frustrated as I
exactly.
am with the messages with my friends. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good. So what are the new trends within the omnichannel communication and also the lead management?
To start with, I would go more maybe from helicopter view. I mean the main trends as I see them, and generally not just in the omnichannel world or lead management, is sustainability. Absolutely number one. Yeah, the topic about our nature, yeah, about the environment. It's translated in almost all the industries. Yeah.
So by sustainability, you mean basically to notify people about their carbon footprint with
You
their
don't.
transactions,
This might
or
this might be one topic.
okay,
Yeah?
okay.
Another topic might be even like everybody shall start with himself. Yeah, like going to work on the bicycle. If we talk about companies like banks, we can see like financing of the environmental friendly projects with better interest rates, for instance. Yeah, so supporting the
Okay, okay.
environmental change. What I saw in CSOB Czech, for instance, they started to use the plastics from recycled plastics. Yeah?
As secondary material.
Secondary
Yeah.
material. Another thing might be, like
Better interest rates. I think you mentioned them for
Yeah.
sustainable projects, for example, for renovations for houses with better energetical certificates.
even I
etc.
have my own experience. I took a mortgage, and I took a mortgage from bank where they give me better rate if I have energetic certificate at some, like some level, which I like a lot. Yeah, because
I think
like
360 Bank had it. If you have, at some point, if you have level 1, you get 0.365 percent interest rate, and also other conditions at that point of time.
Yeah. So sustainability, of course, one of the topics that is like spreading in all other areas. Then community, community banking, community groups on Facebook, in the surroundings, etc. With the connection and social networks, I mean the communities and the growth of communities, I think it's quite intensive, and especially in the online world. Yeah? So of course communities and advisory. So coming back to the customer-centric approach, not selling the product, but understand the needs, understand the needs of the customer, and then advise what can be the best product, the best service, or maybe the customer can be better off without any new product because his own is fine. Maybe
So
just small adjustment can be done.
getting back to the community trend, what do you mean exactly by, for example, if there are certain groups of people who are following certain trends to support these small communities, for example, small cities or villages, or some kind of, okay, I will get back to the first trend, but certain communities which are promoting sustainability or sustainable life, or some kind of agricultural or pathways.
One example of the communities, and again coming back to the customer experience, one bank in America, uh, it is really focused on the community banking. What does that mean? Is support the local community in a way that they had childcare for the mothers during the day. So the mother can come there and like put on the childcare children for, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 hours, and can focus on the development of herself. Yeah. So helping the community that is around you, not just creating the business. Yeah.
So not only searching already existing communities, but creating small communities and supporting them within their needs with let's say small projects. For example, let's say very very traditional projects which are supported by banks and supermarkets, a playground, right?
Again, supporting the local community somehow. Yeah.
Okay.
You have a grocery
Understood.
store, and you build something on top of that. Yeah. You don't just go and buy your milk, but you have something on top. Yeah.
Understood. Thanks. And getting to the lead management, because we discussed the customer experience, right? We broke it down to channels, to omni-channels and their trends, and now we're getting to the lead management. So what can we imagine under it, and what are the trends there?
Lead management or campaign management, lead management is basically following a lead, an event, an important event of the customer life cycle, and addressing it with either communication or a service offer or a product, etc. So lead management is understanding of the events and the leads coming from the customer and addressing them. Yeah. So in simple English, it is communication with the customers.
Is a lead a customer already, or is a future customer?
Originally, when we look at a few years ago, lead management was considered only as like potential customer. So this is your lead. Yeah. But this is, I would say, old-fashioned point of view, because the lead is like any potential that you can see. Lead for a conversation with your existing customer, lead for I don't know, sales of a new product. It can be lead of it can be a negative one as well. Yeah. So for instance, you would have a claim, your unsatisfied customer, and it is a lead for the company to like convert you to a satisfied customer, to like understand the pain point and to solve it with you, yeah, to call you proactively, etc. So lead is any kind of potential for communication with the client.
So also a service.
Also a service, also a sales, also for instance, lead might be like you identify in certain community an area that like customers don't use usually a certain ATM, but they go a bit further. So for instance, you can help them like addressing it's not an offer, it's a communication. Like, look, here you have your ATM just 300 meters from your door, from your house. Maybe you didn't know about that. Next time when you need your money, it will be available for you. So just an example about, like customer care communication. So it's not just about sales, but also about care.
And it's advisory.
And advisory.
As you mentioned.
Yeah.
And how about the trends in the lead management?
We
Are there
mentioned, yeah, for sure. I mean, like we already mentioned the customer centric, and like people that are our listeners might say customer centric. Everybody says, yeah, it's here.
It's like, sexy word.
A sexy word, like past 20 years. Yeah, we have to be customer centric. But now, I see the switch in a way that customer centric is not just a word and buzzword, it's the reality in many of the institutions. Yeah, at least for those that we work for, where we deliver the customer the omnichannel solutions, omnichannel customer experience, where we optimize the processes, etc. So always there is a customer at the center, which I like. Then hyper personalization. Um, if you would like to imagine like what does that mean, like personalization, well, we know, yeah, it's just hello Martin. You don't say hello customer, but hello Martin. But hyper personalization, I mean,
It's hi Martin. I know your temperature is 35 degrees. You need to go
you need
to
some water.
hospital.
Kind of, but not exactly. It is about like a product of one. So you don't have a product for that you sell and you find the customers for. You don't have the product for a segment of the customers, but you really have the product and specific communication for yourself. A product of one. Yeah. So not communicating just like yeah, Tomasz, we see that like you would like to buy a new car. We're happy to offer you loan, but you can communicate. Hi, Tomasz. We see that you like all the A4, etc., etc. Like really
Like
understanding
specific
the
products.
specific products. Yeah, really understanding you as a customer and tailoring the products for you and communication, of course. So this is the second. Then conversational banking we already mentioned. What I mean by that is the advisory. So not just like here is the new mobile phone, just buy it, but advising like what do you need? What do you need the mobile phone for? Do you want to do more pictures or just have it more as a tablet? Yeah, so understanding the need and advising. So conversational.
Conversational banking also includes chatbots and assistants, right?
Chatbots and assistants, and I wanted to come back to it. Like virtual assistant or virtual assistants. This is really a new trend. We see it in KBC, for instance. They have a new virtual assistant, Kate, that is being deployed in all of the countries.
Is it a voice assistant?
It's voice assistant at the beginning, also like mobile assistant, and it should have also in the future the voice capability. For instance, we go for a beer and I forgot my wallet, so instead of going, to ATM withdrawing the money, I would say, "Hey, Kate, please send 10 euros to Thomas," yeah? And she will do it instead of you. So some kind of Siri in the banking world. Yeah.
We had a project where we were implementing a chatbot, and it was really funny at some point when we were defining like various variations of the answers and questions which the customers can have, because you basically have to capture any kind of scenario, and the chatbot has to reply basically. I don't want to say as a human, but it has to make sense. And at some point, it was really funny because we were as children, like typing different kind of answers and questions and see like what is the chatbot responding. And what you were describing, those action points or let's say call to action buttons, which can be now used, for example, for sending payments or approving some kind of new products via chatbot. This is really the newest technologies which have been deployed by the biggest companies in Europe. This is really the newest let's say trend, which is it's actually becoming a trend. It's not visible that much in many companies.
It's not visible that much. I agree with you. And maybe where it is visible, if you go to Slovenská sporiteľňa, they have their virtual assistant. And also they have their holographic assistant, so you can come to talk to a holographic virtual assistant, which is kind of interesting at the moment.
Is it at certain branch where
You
you
can
could
see
go?
it in Nivi, for instance. Yeah,
Where?
Nivi.
Nivi. Okay.
Nivi. Yeah.
And is it a holographs based on LEDs and a fan, or you have no idea? Okay, good. Let's move back to the topic.
Yeah. So
Lead management and the trends. We were discussing about the customer centrism, hyper personalization, conversational banking. What else is there?
definitely when we look at trends, and not just in lead management but also anywhere else, is self-service. Yeah. Um, people are still more and more independent. Of course, we are independent, and thanks for that we have this luxury. Um, but by this independent, I mean like we don't have to go anywhere. We can create a product by ourselves. We can apply. We can like IKEA style. You just go, you buy, you build, you have, you enjoy. The same in banking, the same in, I don't know, other services. So self-service, of course.
You know what I enjoy the best? That I can set my limits of the credit cards and debit cards within the app. I mean, before that, you had to pay €5 within the brick mortar store. You had to go there, you had to wait the line, you had to pay a fee for every change, and this was so cumbersome. And when finally I managed to change it with few clicks in my application, it was so revealing.
And now we are coming, like a good measurement, like the time to action, let's say, is shortened a lot. Yeah. So yeah, the customer experience means that you have more time for things that you like, not for the necessities. And maybe another trend that I would like to mention is the, with all of the data that we discussed, we create a lot of data, everybody, every second. To navigate through them, to understand them, you need to have like really strong analytics platform and really strong decision engine. So the real-time decisions and with the technologies that now allows it, this is the trend that like we can be really on the spot with the customer when and where he really needs us. Yeah.
Sounds like a future. All right, and good. So how can we get there? You mentioned the data and the data analytics. So what are the, for example, in your own current accounts, what are they using? How they can connect everything together? How is it possible?
Yeah, the beauty and the answer, like how to get there, how to really increase the customer experience is with the data, with proper measurement and proper understanding of the data. Because if the data is just there in some data warehouse and you don't use them, then like they don't have the value. So it's creating the value out of it, and we help our customers with a lot of things. And as I mentioned at the beginning, like Adastra is, we don't do like all the things, but the one thing that we do really good is data, and we build the solutions around data. So storing of the data warehouse is now building new data lake solutions, cloud-based data lake solutions, etc. The cloudification is another very important topic about the trends. Yeah.
Another sexy word.
Another sexy word, but really becoming a reality right now. Yeah, and also we can see it in KBC, where we deliver to all international market countries new data and analytics platform based on AWS, the cloud solution. Yeah? And in here, what it allows is like really future-proof data processing. All the real-time fancy stuff that everybody talks about now becomes a reality. So one thing is like having the platform that will allow you to digest the value out of the data, and then to create the solutions. So all the advanced data analytics, data science, propensity modeling, all these things help you to better understand the customer and act upon like the important events that are happening in the life of the
And
customer.
also, it's good that nowadays it's possible, because a couple of years ago, the banks were really afraid to move their data to cloud, mostly because of the security. I remember that, I don't know how many years ago, but it's more than 5. We were implementing Unica in Poštová banka, which had a. I'm not sure if I don't want to get too technical to not be wrong, but part of it, part of the whole solution was kind of in cloud. And when the national bank, realized this, like, they immediately received a notification that they haven't consulted with them this implementation of this kind of solution, that the customer data can be breached. There can be security breach, and from that point, where the national bank was afraid of the customer's data and the solution which was implemented, we got to a point where basically you can almost have also sensitive data on the cloud, and really utilize it to the extent you describe for real-time processing and the different kind of.
Of course, I mean, like in the cloud, and I would say that KBC is kind of a pioneer in terms of like traditional banking, because usually, like the other big names like Erste, Raiffeisen, etc., they're just playing around right now, like creating the strategies, etc. KBC is already in the implementation, and however, very important topic is the GDPR, cybersecurity, etc. So these topics cannot be avoided, and of course there are many measurements, many countermeasures that you have to apply to really be compliant with all the regulations and with the security.
So what kind of cloud tools are you using in KBC, since it's pioneering in these fields?
As I mentioned, like Edison, data analytics platform, but this is not the only one. Even it's not the first. The first cloud implementation in KBC was about omnichannel and omnichannel orchestration. We implemented there in all the international market countries. So again, Bulgaria, Hungary, Slovakia, even Ireland, the Expona, that is based on GCP cloud, Google Cloud Services. And they're using the tool to orchestrate the communication. And now we are coming back very rightly to the topic of customer experience. So data analytics platform give you the insights, help you to understand the customer. However, the omnichannel orchestration tool like Expona help you to like execute the communication, even understand what is happening on the web, tracking the behavior in online, etc. So the omnichannel orchestration is now doing the umbrella under all the omnichannel communication that you have in with the customer, and this is the example of KBC, but also others. So another very important topic when we talk about the trends in lead management and omnichannel communication is a strong decision engine, being able to address the needs at the right moment in the correct channel with the correct proposition. So really to be able to decide based on all the things, all the data, all the offers that we have prepared for the customer, to decide for the real top one.
Is there any solution which Adastra can provide either in-house or out of the box as a third party vendor?
Actually, we as Adastra, we saw a gap in here. We are very strong in omnichannel orchestration, let's say, and we see there a lot of very good tools like Adobe, like Expona, like there are many tools that really address the omnichannel orchestration. However, what we saw as a gap is a strong decision engine, that will connect the dots and will decide based on really the needs of the customer, all the events or the important things happening in the life of the customer, what is the correct or the best action, the best service to offer, etc. So we created MBA.
Which stands for?
I thought that the question will come. NBA don't stand for the basketball. You will not see Michael Jordan there. It stands
such
for
a shame.
it stands for next best action. So really, it is about understanding the customer need. It was developed in a way that uh, at the center is customer. So all the trends that we talked about are there. At the center is customer, and the idea is to understand in real time what is happening in the life of the customer to be able to provide the best service, the best action, the best product, or to address like the current situation, either the struggle, etc. So really to understand and to decide in real time what to communicate with the customer.
On which of the big three platforms is it based on? And is it easier to integrate it if, for example, a customer is using a different platform? I mean cloud-based, the big threes.
Yeah, if you talk about the implementation possibilities, NBA is like cloud or platform agnostic, I would say. It is possible to be deployed on premise to the customer. It is also impossible. It is also possible to be implemented in any of the three clouds. In
Okay,
Azure,
good.
in
Sounds robust.
GCP, etc. It's quite robust, and the beauty of it is that it considers all the data that you can imagine, all the information in real time, and decide on the spot what is the right offer, the right service, the right communication to you.
So we are talking about historical data, transactional data, behavioral, different kind of events.
Exactly. I mean, nowadays it is. We were talking about like Big Brother watching you,
Yeah.
and we discussed that like the customers they expect that they are not afraid that they expect
They
that,
like to be watched.
they like to be watched. I wouldn't say it like this, but they expect that like you're interested in them,
To a certain degree.
to a certain degree, of course, and that is why it is extremely important to take into consideration all the topics that are happening in the life of the customers. So we can see in the data that you might be willing to take some loan for renovating your house, like making a home, yeah. But at the same time, we saw you at the airport paying in the cafe, going for a business trip. So at that moment of time, we should listen really to what is happening in your life in the current moment, and maybe discuss with you not loan, but maybe travel insurance.
Yeah.
So that is why it is important to like take all the things that are happening in the life of the customer and to decide at the real time in that moment what to communicate.
On one of my projects, I realized like how transactional data are strong. How can you categorize them? Build different kind of segments based on it. I mean, you can read so much from transactional data. It's amazing. And of course, you can based on that you can provide different kind of services to the customers. Not only offerings, but also services which customers can enjoy. For example, categorizing their transactions in various kind of spending areas, such as you are spending in supermarket, in bars, etc. And based on these kind of insights, they can manage their finances better.
And now we are coming to the trends again, to the advisory. So the customer experience
yeah.
is also about like shortening the time frame that you need to like to get to what you really want. But it is also about like customer care and advising.
And with that being said, Martin, thank you for your time. Thank you that you joined us. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. After quite some time, as you said at the beginning, that we didn't see each other, and I hope we will see each other soon and talk with a beer in our hands.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to discuss this very very broad and very like interesting topic. I'm very glad that I was here discussing with you.